those types of guys. And speaking of which, Tim is going to go with Pyrrha just because it's the closest character to a character that he's familiar with from previous versions of the game.
It's a shame that we don't have a Cassandra in this game.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have picked
you're going to get.
I have to fight.
SC6, man.
Yeah.
We've been waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting, Namco.
BB into taunt. All right.
Tim is doing an excellent job with the offensive.
Pyrrha is, overall, I would say in this matchup, Pyrrha is pretty good. Out of all the characters, if there was one matchup that Viola might have as a bad matchup, it would be this one.
Especially because of all the amazing options she has just on the sidestep.
Yeah.
Considering that, you know, I mean, as good as Viola could be, she's a very linear character.
Yeah. And she's short, very short range. And it's also important to note, like, a lot of people talk about matchups on streams and stuff, and I'm obviously guilty of it just a few seconds ago, but it's important to note that merely because the match is playing out in a way that I have described does not necessarily mean that I was right in my matchup analysis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's important to note the difference between actual gameplay and gameplay on paper. There's two different ideas.
Yeah. Tim right there is doing a really good job with whiff punish.
I mean, he's really just outplaying his opponent. That's why, unfortunately, there's not really much to talk about when it comes to the match.
And Tim just took a second there to explain something to him.
Yeah, he's not 100% on, like, button configs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Viola, without her combos and pressure.
That was an excellent move
and
right
poor
there.
defense and weird movements. I can't...
Not to mention, probably the most difficult thing, and I'm not seeing CarrotTop do this at all, is strategic placement of the orb. He is not really...
I feel like the word strategy is the farthest away from his mind at the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's as far away as the heavens. You alright?
Yep, I'm good,
Bless
thank you.
I apologize to the people who are watching. I'm trying to like focus on the match, but there's really not a lot to talk about, I find. It's just every single setup that Tim is working is working beautifully.
Yeah,
he puts himself at a small amount of frame disadvantage, backs up and waits for the counterattack and then punishes. That's basically the entire scenario we've got going here.
Yeah, at this point in time, CarrotTop is just having a really, really hard lesson.
Much like CarrotTop had a really, really hard lesson in his career.
Yep.
As a comedian. Punishes correctly.
I think that was the first time I actually saw CarrotTop punish. Unfortunately, there you go.
Does he have a combo? That's the day one combo. Man, I remember that. I was so young when that combo came out. There were simpler times back then. Is that death?
Nope, close to it though.
That is not 3B punishable, is it?
It looks like it.
I feel like that couldn't have been true. I might be wrong, though. In any case, this is over.
Yeah.
Tim is trying to draw it out with hard reads. No punishes
CarrotTop
whatsoever.
is just, CarrotTop's biggest problem right now is the fact that he's just not punishing enough.
Well, his biggest problem is that, to the people listening, you didn't hear it, but CarrotTop got into this tournament because it was free entry, but he's an Xbox player. He didn't bring his own controller, so he just has to use a PS3 pad, presumably for the first time. So arguably, there's probably a lot of like unfamiliarity there with his hands.
PS3 controller is just a lot more sensitive and much more maneuverable than an Xbox controller.
Yeah. Yeah, Xbox controllers for fighting games. Not really my cup of tea. It's great for racing games.
First-person shooters.
First-person shooters is fantastic for that. Shoutouts to Halo. My favorite game of all time.
Shoutouts to Project Gotham.
Please forgive me.
Yeah, basically anytime Bibulus puts CarrotTop in a position where he has to block, there's almost always a counterattack coming.
Yeah,
Like
Tim is constantly catching CarrotTop pushing buttons.
He could win it right now. And he did the worst
he does
combo
not.
possible.
He doesn't even do the
Yes,
ring out.
and he knows that it's pierced through.
And he didn't even punish the whiff on that.
Man, this is a whole bunch of jank going on right now.
He needs to stop doing that combo. He needs to start doing something a little bit more elaborate.
Yeah, he needs to start doing a combo.
He actually needs to go back to the lab.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just sit there and rely yourself on
Well,
one
I mean,
combo.
if this is the kind of tournament that gets you motivated to keep going, by all means, everybody has to have their ass beats every once in a while.
That is true. I get my ass beat quite often.
Me too.
I can't.
Every time.
No comment from the peanut gallery. And Tim takes that in a convincing fashion.
So, in order to see what the Viola player should have done there, it's